What's going on, summoners, and welcome back to another ProGuides Wild Rift video. My name is Nathan Ng, and today we're going to move away from the champions of Wild Rift and talk about some of the future additions to the game. Since Wild Rift is an extension of League, we can always take a look at what's going on over there to see some insight into the future of Wild Rift. With 99 champions still missing in the game, there's a lot of time for the meta to change. We've come up with a list of the most meta-defining champions that we know that will shake up Wild Rift whenever they get added. Before we get started with the list of broken champions, our question of the day is, what champion are you least excited for in Wild Rift? Make sure you let us know in the comments down below. Okay, so the first champion that I'm not excited to see in Wild Rift is League's newest champion, VIEGO. The Ruined King is still getting used to the Rift, but I have a feeling that he'll become one of the strongest champions in the game. VIEGO is an auto-attack focused melee jungler, with the passive allowing him to take over the souls of enemies for a few seconds whenever they die around him. His standard abilities aren't anything crazy, but in a team fight he can constantly reset who he's controlling, changing into different champions and fulfilling new roles in the fight. In Wild Rift, most champions have a position or two that they comfortably fill, and VIEGO would really shake things up with his versatility. He's a new champion, and you'll notice that a couple of other champions in this list came out a few years ago. With how fresh Wild Rift is, every champion that's added will massively change the game. You'll need to think about new counter picks and matchups, especially since Riot plans to add a couple of champions with new events. With how bloodthirsty Wild Rift fights are, VIEGO's ability to take advantage of strong enemies will make him a really strong pick once he gets added to the game. As long as he gets an assist on an enemy champion, he can completely change how the fight is being played, and I'm not excited about VIEGO stealing my Fed ADC and totally taking over the rest of the skirmish. When VIEGO gets added to the Wild Rift, the way to counter him is by playing from a distance. He's pretty easy to kite, and hard CC will totally shut him down. Try to handle him like you'd handle facing a Wukong, with a solid frontline and a strong backline damage. The next broken champion that we'll be looking at and talking about is Zoe. This trickster poke mage absolutely ruined League for some players. In fact, it actually made my friend quit for the longest time. Her burst is through the roof, and her Sleepy Trouble bubble is one of the two sleeps currently in the game. On her release, Zoe was a pick or ban champion for the rest of the season, so let me tell you why she'll break Wild Rift once she gets added. Zoe's sleep is a very thin skill shot line, and it's not that easy to hit if you're right in front of your target. However, Zoe can extend the range of her sleep if she shoots it through terrain, giving it extended range and coming from any angle. Her playstyle is throwing sleepy bubbles through walls until she hits you, which will most likely lead to your death. The additional damage and hard CC makes sleep one of the best sources of crowd control in the game. If you thought that was annoying, Zoe can pick up summoner spells and active abilities and use as many as she wants. If your team uses all their flashes up in a team fight, that's 5 flashes for Zoe to pick up and use, giving her additional movement speed, damage, and mobility. In Wild Rift, she would probably be able to pick up boot enchantments, which give her a ton of useful abilities to use. If you didn't get the chance to play League when Zoe came out, get ready for the quote-unquote fun release when she comes to the Wild Rift. To play around her, you'll need to keep track of her position so you know where she might throw her long-range skill shots from. If you see her walk into the jungle, keep her movements unpredictable and hug the other side. The best way to beat Zoe is to lock her down if she slips up, so try to flash on her before she can react. Before we talk about the next champion on our list, I need to let you know about our Wild Rift community Discord. We've got lots of channels for people who are looking for discussion, groups to play with, and art to share. You'll also be the first person to hear about the exclusive giveaways and promotions. If any of these sound interesting to you, you can join the link in the description down below. Now, let's move on to another champion from Targon. Pantheon is one of the strongest champions right now in League, and he's the best early game champion in the game. Right now, Wild Rift has some pretty strong early game picks like Darius and Draven, but there's no one like Pantheon. This insanely powerful warrior can beat up almost any champion at level 1, making him a great pick in Wild Rift. Remember, it's a lot harder to slow down a snowball in Wild Rift, and Pantheon has no breaks if he gets ahead. Let's talk about his abilities and why he's such a powerful champion. His spear is the main form of damage, and it does additional damage against low targets. With how often you can spam the skill, you'll always be in a good position until the damage starts to scale off in the game. What makes Pantheon really strong are his other abilities. His point and click stun gives him reliable CC, making it really easy to land the rest of your damage. His shield lets him block all incoming damage, not including turrets, from whatever direction he's facing. If you thought that wasn't enough, Pantheon's semi-global ultimate lets him join fights halfway across the map, which is crucial in Wild Rift. To play against Pantheon, you need to be okay with giving up some gold and experience in the early game. If you don't feed him, Pantheon will slow down as the mid-game starts. At this point, Pantheon's damage and utility is very manageable. Respect his early strength and you'll be just fine. Our next broken champion is APHELIOS, one of the newer marksmen added to League of Legends. He is not as insane as he was on release, but a good APHELIOS will do things that you didn't know were possible. Unlike other champions, he only has 2 active abilities, one that changes based on his weapons and the other one being his ultimate. He can switch between 2 weapons at a time, which only change when you run out of ammo on that gun. When played correctly, he's the answer for every single situation, so let's go through the basics of his weapons and what you'll need to prepare for his future. Now, there is a lot going on with this champion and we're only scratching the surface. Now, if you saw Riot's official release page for this champion, it was like an entire thesis. APHELIOS starts the game off with Calibrum, the sniper rifle, and Severum, the scythe pistol. The sniper gives him extra range and the pistol gives him lifesteal and sustain. Once one of these weapons run out of ammo, he'll switch to Gravitum, the gravity cannon, which slows enemies that he attacks. His last 2 weapons are Infernum, the flamethrower, and Crescendum, the chakram. His flamethrower does a lot of AoE, while the chakram attacks faster the closer he is to the target. We're not even talking about the weapon combos together and the weapon actives. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff going on APHELIOS, and we didn't even talk about his individual abilities and combinations. This guy is the last ADC that you want to see because he'll be either played like a pro or you probably have no idea what's going on. When we eventually have to play against APHELIOS, you'll need to keep track of his weapons to figure out when he's strong and weak. All of his weapons are color coded, so remember to keep an eye out for the green, red, and white weapons. Moving on to the top lane, ORNN is one of the best tanks in League of Legends, and we know that he'll shake up things in Wild Rift when he joins. This Freljord god is a master of the Forge, and he can be the only champion that can access the shop from anywhere on the map. Yep, that's right, you can build any non-consumable item in the middle of the lane. Once he levels up, ORNN can even upgrade his teammates' items, giving them extra stats that the enemy team doesn't have access to. While ORNN is great for his item scaling potential, he's a really powerful tank as well. ORNN has some of the highest damage output of any tank, and his engage is equally terrifying. He has a unique debuff called Brittle, which amplifies the next auto attack that he does while lowering tenacity as well. What makes ORNN extra strong is how much his abilities rely on percentages for damage. Because of this, he's really good into other tanks, utilizing their max health pools against them. His ultimate is also one of the best engage tools in the game, massively slowing enemies and then lining them up for an easy knockout. To beat ORNN, you'll need to match his tankiness or go all in on damage. Because the ram that the ultimate summons is a projectile, ORNN gets countered pretty hard by champions that can negate projectiles like Yasuo's Wind Wall and the first part of Braum's shield. Next champion on our list is a real terror to face. Fiddlesticks is a powerful AP jungler, and his rework has been one of the best champions for carrying in the game. Once he joins a Wild Rift, you'll need to be extra careful of the Fog of War. If you're unfamiliar with League, Fiddle is known for his iconic ultimate where he channels briefly before flashing into as many champions as possible, ferrying anyone and dealing massive damage. I think Fiddlesticks will be one of the best champions in Wild Rift since it's a lot harder to get consistent vision in the game. If you don't like to ward, Fiddle will have an easy time hiding and starting the fight with his ultimate. The scariest part about Fiddlesticks is that he leaves behind harmless scarecrows that look and act like him. If you run into one of these, it might look like Fiddle is about to ult, so don't get scared and flash away. If you want to double check if you're looking at a clone, hit the clone with the long range ability. If it's fake, it'll disappear. If it's real, you might want to back up. Looking at his basic abilities, Fiddle is a close range mage that can suck the life out of his opponents. He does a lot of burst damage, so you need to make sure that you get a heal cut before it's too late. Fighting Fiddle is all about reacting to his engage, so make sure that you aren't face checking any brushes on your own. The last champion on our list is TALON, one of the older champions in League of Legends. We feel like he'll be a really powerful pick in Wild Rift, especially if you compare him to the other assassins in the game right now. If I had to compare Talon to somebody right now, I'd probably put him in the same category as Evelynn. He's a fast mid laner who focuses on roaming around the map to pick up kills on anyone who isn't in the right place. With how important roaming capabilities are in Wild Rift, Talon will make a big splash once he jumps from League of Legends. His rake ability gives him solid wave clear, which gives him a lot of chance to leave lane. Assassin's Path lets him jump over terrain on a fixed cooldown, which means that Talon's path to bot lane is a lot faster than you might expect. If you aren't paying attention, he'll stealth into lane with his ultimate and blow up your ADC before they can even react. To counterplay Talon, you need to focus on vision to avoid his roams. In teamfights, try to save 1 or 2 hard crowd control abilities like a stun or polymorph, so you can lock him down before he escapes. Talon needs to wait after he bursts down his target, so try to kill him while he isn't a threat. And that's going to be our list of the 7 broken champions from League of Legends. All of these champions fit really well into the current meta of Wild Rift, so hopefully they'll be added a little later when things start to slow down. We eventually want to see these guys in Wild Rift, but just not right now. Also, don't forget to answer our question of the day and subscribe to our channel if you're enjoying the content. Thank you so much for watching this video. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a wonderful day. Peace.